No big deal. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Smudcast number 581 in defense of Mass Effect Andromeda Part 2 from yesterday. Oh boy, joys of talking about this broken, mediocre game again. And to make it fun, we usually just stop and just ramble on about the game or games in general because this guy is not the most coherent. He's kind of just, I like the thing, and here's the thing, and here's...
How long did he dedicate to explaining the controls?
At least 5 minutes. It was weird. It was a strange event of him describing the car and the guns and the biotics and then the favorites, whatever those were, and then the profiles and then the jump button and all these other buttons. And you're like, dude, this is not how you sell a thing.
Yeah. You know what game has a jump button?
Most
a lot of things.
Most of
Elden Ring.
It's got a double jump
I
button.
have Elden Ring on the brain.
Yeah.
Of a coherent experience than Andromeda.
Right. You're trying to tell your audience, hey, look at this game. It's fun in comparison to other games. And this is why we have a mediocre quality or criteria. Because if I knew nothing about video games, I know nothing about Mass Effect or anything about technology, I go, wow, look, there's a guy on the screen and you can move and jump and fire. And that's like new knowledge I've never heard of before in my entire existence. What a great story. I got to go out and go buy Mass Effect Andromeda. But I'm a gamer and I've been around for a few decades and I've played games, so I know what the jump button does. I've played games that have it. It works very well. I've played.
You know how to aim down the sights.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that just the industry standard has come around with those sights and the guns and the making of the guns and the certain guns have better sights and certain guns have wider sights. It's like, oh my god, never heard of that idea before. So yeah, we've gone over this, and he's like a deer in headlights, going, "Oh my God, you can do these things!" It's like, yes, cars go forward with the forward button. Thank you, sir. We get it. So yeah, he's an interesting reviewer so far.
I'm not sure I would use interesting as the right word.
It's the most generic thing I can come up with that's not good or bad. It's just sort of, well, I don't know what to say about this guy.
It is so basic that it is nothing.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you could use to describe anything. It's interesting.
Like I said, it was air.
Yeah. He did say...
I'd rather read the manual of the game.
Yeah, no, he did
and listen to
basically what he was doing.
It's true.
Yes, and as I said last time, this is how all media science presentations about video game papers, video game talks are. And they are excruciatingly boring and they get things wrong. They get this basic level of shit they get wrong. So if we didn't miss anything, I'm looking forward to the crucial thing that he gets wrong about game mechanics.
Okay.
Like misidentifying a button or something. I'm just waiting for it.
Okay. Well, his use of the word game kind of drove us nuts. It drove me nuts. That's why I got my headache. So
then never go to the media science part of your local university.
Well,
what would motivate me to do that in the first place?
I know.
Masochism.
Well, they use fancy words
curiosity.
like ludonarrative.
I'm not a masochist.
Or ludology, or they use all these other words.
A social study of media science students.
Oh my god.
Maybe.
That doesn't sound healthy at all.
Maybe if it was sharing a building with a department I actually needed to go to.
And then you'd get randomly stuck in one of their rooms.
Oh.
Like if the door was open and there was just like, you know, the lecture was going on inside and I just hung around by the door.
And if you step inside, the door shuts behind you and you hear a voice over the intercom. Do you like playing games?
All right. Well, we got 13 minutes left, going halfway almost. So let's see how we do.
Hopefully it's like 4 minutes of content and then 8-9 minutes of thanks to today's sponsor, Loot Crate.
Yeah, Loot Crate back in the day. Oh my, is Loot Crate still a thing? I can't even remember how it went away.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Don't forget. This is the type of video where we can expect the last 3 minutes of insanity.
I don't know. I think this is so generically, subjectively nothing. I don't know what he's going to end on. And we're always hoping for the last 5 minutes where they make a point, but it ends up being nothing. And then,
it ends up being insanity,
and then the
completely
insanity
irrational madness.
Well, that's what the political weirdo guys. This is guys just like, I love this game, and it has jumping, and you're like, that's good.
I'm
for
looking
you.
over some of his other videos, and there's more videos, and we got 1K views on In Defense of Cyberpunk.
Okay.
We got 178 views in defense of BioShock 2.
Interesting. All right.
And then he's got Final Fantasy XIV veteran plays Guild Wars 2, and that has 20,000 views. That's so wrong. It's so random.
Well, it's about video games, so at least he's got that going for him. Good for him.
Oh, and he has an Elden Ring video with 17 views.
Amazing.
Okay. Anyway, let's go.
Copper
and
all got my
augmentations from
joke.
3 different areas: Milky Way items, the Helios cluster items, and an ancient race set of items as well.
Great to
Researching
get
takes-
items
Why
from
would you want to
things.
install an ancient race's biotic implant into your body? Like, it's one thing to pick up and use their tools, but can you imagine, like, oh, here's a biotic amp from heaven only knows how long ago. Let me stick it in my brain.
It's for
for
brain
a
surgery.
completely different species that's
Well,
extinct.
That was kind of the issue with the first game, where you didn't quite understand that the biotic that were humans had to have an implant, but you also had an arm amp thing. And I was like, how does that connect? Because Caden Alenko, his whole backstory was he's an L2, and his things are more painful or powerful, but everyone else had the L3 or whatever. It's like, okay, that's a thing. So alien amp things, is that brain surgery? Is like, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. And they don't even use Mass Effect tech. They have their own version of traversing the galaxy, the Ket, I think. So we don't know how they get around so quickly.
research points. You get research points simply by scanning various objects out in the
Nobody
world you
cares.
visit.
This is not
Simply
the
bring out your
relevant
scanner
part of the
and
game.
hit scan on the items covered in red. It's that
All the fun of the Mass Effect 2 mineral mining, but in the overworld.
So this is actually a point I brought up during my review was I don't know if you guys have played Metroid Prime, but one of the major points of that game to get data or methods was the scanner. And that's how you get out of locked rooms. It's how you open doors. It's how you learn about the environment. It's how you learn about aliens and may have weak points, what have you. So that was the whole communication method of the silent protagonist, silent game that was Metroid Prime. And in this game, this is how you explore. You have to use this weird sort of small range scanner thing. And that's it. Like what's the same equivalent in other games like Detective Vision in the Arkham games or stuff like that. So was this a good idea? Yeah. Was it implemented well? Relatively. Is it noteworthy? No, it doesn't do anything new. It didn't do what Metroid Prime did. And it kind of makes you feel like a detective, but there's really no mystery. There's really no, who killed someone.
So far, I do not know why I should play this over Brutal Legend, Ever Oasis, or even Genshin Impact.
Outside of the space genre or setting?
Yeah,
Because
if you're like a mega sci-fi fan, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, there's probably some sci-fi example as well that can be brought up. my point
how about
is
Mass Effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, but my point is, he's only talking about this basically filler gameplay between the story.
Yeah, but that's the weird
The
thing.
reason I play Mass Effect, the reason I play BioWare is story, not this stuff.
Well, we
stuff
still
is
haven't
nice, the
gotten
stuff
to
is
the
fluff.
story section of the game.
Right. So if you're saying,
Will we?
I'm comparing this game to Gears of War will always win because it's the superior shooter, cover, whatever game. What he should have done is says, look at the gameplay from like melee combat or gunplay, and then look at Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 and see what... I would have loved the comparison. Say, look, this is how you fire a gun. This is how it shoots. This is how accurate it is. Here's like 30 guns, and Mass Effect has 4. And it's like, oh, okay. So like that would have been a good argument to make. So you have quantity, you have quality, you have different versions, you have variations, you have upgrades, you got mods, you got all kinds of things in Andromeda, and you didn't know that because you didn't play the game yet. That's what I want. I want a comparison. I want 1-to-1. I want A to A of Mass Effect to Mass Effect. And he's just going, well, it has guns and you can make them. It's like, do I care about that? How is that relevant? And he just listed you could have equipment from this galaxy and that galaxy. Like, that's fine. So what? Is that a selling point?
You run around in the environment, you gather stuff, you can drive around. So far I can play Yoshi's Story or Banjo-Kazooie.
Or No Man's Sky or whatever. Like, just pick any exploration game.
Yeah.
Simple. The more you scan, the more points you have for researching. And researching can make the items even stronger with different levels.
You can play any mobile game
Once
at
that's
this point.
done, simply go to development and make the item. Even add mods to it. All in all, there's...
You can even add mods to it.
So you scan an item in the environment, you can make the item and modify a wall socket or whatever the hell?
I think he wants to drive me crazy, but by just mentioning standard gameplay functions.
Well, that's the thing.
That's just drivel.
He showed pictures of like an object in a room, which could be anything, and you can make the item. And I'm like, what is it? And then you could add mods to it. I'm like, why? What's the point? Tell me what's the purpose of this thing? A little confused here, sir.
Absolutely wrong with the gameplay. It still has a Mass Effect feel to it, with a lot of the same systems and abilities, so feel free to experiment with the various profiles and explore the system with...
Did he just say there's nothing wrong with the gameplay?
Mm-hmm.
Besides being buggy and you know, not properly implementing the verticality of a jetpack and having a dead open world. And I'm sure, I guess there's nothing wrong with the gameplay.
He's a simple man. He hasn't played a lot of games.
Yeah, that's what
He's
it feels
fine
like.
with
Yeah.
this.
I think so. All right, here's a $4.99 from Legacy. Thank you, sir. Are any of you guys interested in Scorn? I have a unique fascination with biomechanics and organic aesthetics like the bio-boosted armor Guyver. Okay, well, that's a bit different than Scorn. Scorn is kind of like, what is it, the H.R. Geiger style artwork, I think? I'm trying to remember.
Not familiar with either of the things that are being referred to.
Geiger is the guy who helped inspire...
Well, I know who H.R. Geiger is.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, like, I don't know what Scorn is. I don't know what bio-boosted armor Guyver. I have no idea what
That's
this is.
anime live action as well. It's a manga.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. I do like science fiction, of course, and I do like various genres of science fiction. So you have technology, which is not just purely mechanical, but biological. So all those wonderful stories are cool, but they usually fall back into that weird sort of horror genre or subgenre of space opera. Like when you think of, what's that, the late 90s one we talked about, I think last year. That space, what was it? The guy from Jurassic Park, the doctor guy, the guy with the hat. He's in that film, and it's, what the hell is it called? Not Singularity, but Eclipse? No. hell is it called? Anyway, it was a horror science fiction flick that had a lot of marketing, and it didn't do so well. So yeah, you need to give me a world that constitutes tech and bio in a society, in a galactic environment where it makes sense. You can't just start combining shit like that and have it make sense. So it's cool. I just want to see something more developed, more logic, more setup, more world building, that sort of thing. But I do like Dune. Dune is kind of like a combination of that, but maybe not from the books. Probably more so from the Frank. Was it the 1979 or 1978 when it came out? Can't remember when that original Dune movie came out.
Breath tools. Impressive. Now we're going to hop right into the world and setting.
Oh my god.
So Andromeda is a completely new galaxy to explore. In fact, the story takes place with the various races from the Milky Way galaxy going to Andromeda for the first time with a flight time of just over 600 years. Because of how little we actually know about the various worlds in the real-life Andromeda, the devs were able to let their imaginations go wild in this aspect. The cluster is big enough with a lot of solar systems in it, and you have about 10 places you can land on and explore.
10? Wow.
In an entire galaxy.
That's so many, as opposed to the first game, the second game, the third game. You had like, I don't know, 3 dozen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, every... well, there was lots of places that you didn't land, but you had to scan them. You had to evade Reapers. With 2, it was the mining with everything. So you had to scan and you got information that way. But lots of N7 missions, lots of repetitive planets in the first game, but there was always something to find, some sort of insignia or some minor quest line you forgot about because there was so many stuff going on. And that was fine. Like that was the argument for and against. Like people liked the scale of it, but it was sort of like, oh yeah, this was a thing you could do. We totally forgot about this storyline with some crime boss in this prefab building that is on all the planets. So yeah, there was some limitations to Mass Effect for sure. So it wasn't a perfect game.
Places, or just there to get quests and talk with people, is very much a large portion of the game. None of the planets are very habitable for various story and gameplay reasons.
What a useless galaxy.
I forgot how bad the lip flaps looked in this game, too. Like the mouth syncing to the dialogue. Ugh, it's terrible.
It was the models, it was the animation, it was the lip sync, it was everything. It wasn't just, oh, the models look like shit. It's like, nope.
What engine was this game made in?
Frostbite.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Well, when you look at Inquisition, it looks amazing. And it really goes to show that the people working on Andromeda didn't know how to use it properly. So it's not the argument that, oh, they didn't have enough time. It's like, well, they have access to the guys who made the engine through EA because they own the engine. They have people working on Dragon Age who used it properly. So maybe this was the wrong talent, the wrong people. I don't know. But if they...
Oh, that definitely.
There's so many problems with this game. Who knows how they came about. So I did hear even from the guy, what's the Indian Thunder guy, the racist dude, I can't remember his name, who was saying that he hated Frostbite so much it was hard to work with. The designer guy worked on. I think he worked on.
Oh, I remember. I think I remember the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name, but
yeah, he was popular for like
a horrible person.
2 weeks on Twitter, and then he came back with another news story a few months later. But yeah, no, he was like this really left-leaning fellow, and he finally...
Try and think about how he hated white people and wished for their genocide.
I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was certainly racist.
Must be wonderful to work with such a person.
This is
Manveer Air.
There you go.
Yes.
Manveer.
Yes.
I'm like, let me look this up. And I just Googled Mass Effect Andromeda racist dev, and that was the first result.
Punjabi American dude, yeah, okay. Takes all kinds, guys. Doesn't matter where in Canada you live. If you have any inkling of racism, you're going to be popping up anytime, randomly talking about how oppressive the whites are or whatever. Anyway.
Andromeda Initiative was tasked with heading to Andromeda and colonizing the galaxy, as well as finding out what's out there.
His Wikipedia page says that he was the target of Gamergate harassment.
When? In 2013?
2017. 3 years after it had stopped being a, working, a coherent movement.
Yeah, well.
Mm-hmm.
Air is known to be outspoken on issues related to diversity in video games. That is a very, very, very charitable way of putting it. Probably wrote the article himself, if I'm being honest.
It's the newspeak way, because pro-diversity means anti-white. It's very simple. I think everybody can see that now, that's not just an unfavorable interpretation, but simply what it is.
There's so many reinterpretations of wokeism, it's hard to even follow where it's going.
It has some basic patterns, and that is one of them.
Yeah, all right. I honestly don't pay attention, but whenever someone says you're anti-woke, I'm like, thanks. Is that good? I don't. Is that supposed to mean something? I don't know.
I'm not a communist who hates his own people.
Yeah, I appreciate.
I don't hate myself because of the amount of melanin in my skin. That is true. Yes,
I appreciate when people call me names that have some reference and meaningful. Like you're a bad person because you like video games. Like, oh, okay, so people who play video games are bad. Okay, I can understand that. At least that doesn't make sense, but logically, I could follow your reason and say how you came to that conclusion. If it's like you're anti this, it's like, am I? I never really thought about that. I don't think so. I might be anti talking about politics because it's boring. I don't find it relevant to the other conversations I have. So maybe I am that not thing. I don't know. Hard to argue a not thing, but
I'm also anti-fundamentalist Christians injecting their shit into video games and trying to ban violence and sex from them.
Oh.
It's the same thing.
What, you didn't like the Left Behind real-time strategy?
The what?
Left Behind. Was that a real-time strategy game? What was that exactly? What do you call those?
There was a Left Behind RTS.
Really? Huh. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Left Behind Eternal Forces. It came out in 2006.
Wow. That is 1 year before Mass Effect. So no, I don't remember.
That's some Christian RTS.
Oh boy.
Yes. Are you familiar with the Left Behind book series?
No.
Oh. Good for you. Congratulations.
It must be very successful if it gets a video game.
Oh, it was very successful in the United States. It was a book series about it kicked off with the rapture of the faithful, and then it was about the tribulation as interpreted by a couple of American evangelicals.
Yeah, it's a bit. Well, we don't really talk about it. It's kind of stupid.
It was a thing, not an especially well-written book. My favorite part is early in one of the series, one of the characters walks across the city of Manhattan, New York, which is like a maybe end-to-end, like a 5-mile walk, and he's like exhausted afterwards. and the character is supposed to be a fit, active 30-year-old.
What, Nicolas Cage?
And it's like, I think you're probably exhausted because the balding 50-something who you're a stand-in for would be tired walking across Manhattan.
All right.
And not because you are. Oh yeah, there was a Left Behind movie with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's how I know it. I don't know anything.
There was I think 3 movies and then a reboot with Nicolas Cage.
Oh boy.
Might have only been 2. Starring Nicolas Cage and Chad Michael Murray.
I don't think there's enough hours in the day.
And Leah Thompson, apparently.
What? All right, well, there's probably not enough hours in the year to watch all the Nicolas Cage movies.
First one had, the first Left Behind movie had Kirk Cameron.
Oh, joy.
And the third one had Lou Gossett Jr.
Anyway.
And Clarence Gilliard, who played the old guy who played Walker, Texas Rangers partner.
What? Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. This is spinning off into weird places.
This is way more interesting than talking about Andromeda.
This is probably true, but we got to focus on the topic at hand, or else we're all going to get sidetracked. Anyway.
There was a YA spin-off movie? There was a YA spin-off series of books. I didn't know they spun the movie off, too.
Oh. All right.
What is
well.
YA?
Anyway.
Klaus Mystery, or Claus Mystery? Why are we talking about Gamergate in caps? Sorry about that. Yeah, we didn't mean to.
Because Andromeda had a racist developer.
Gamergate is the collective PTSD of communist pseudo gamers.
I don't know. It's
the eternal Gamergate.
I thought it was Atheism Plus, but now it's Gamergate.
No,
Atheism
no.
Plus
Atheism
led
Plus,
to Gamergate.
Oh yeah.
Atheism Plus was on the side of the socialists. It was the socialist taken over version of atheism.
It's just
anytime a plus is added to something, it indicates the socialists have subverted it and taken it over to the top, to up to the head of the thing, so that the mold has crept into the brain of whatever it is.
Oh,
that was so wacky when it all started with like this woman who was like, I was nearly assaulted because some guy asked me for coffee in an elevator. That's what it was. That's what started the whole thing. Was this woman at a skeptic conference said some guy asked me for coffee in his room in an elevator, and I said no, and we went our separate ways.
So she never interacted with humans before. Is that how that?
Yeah, that was her traumatic experience.
Yeah.
It seems based on paranoid schizophrenia.
All right. Okay. Well, I forget most of these things because they don't really affect my life, and I don't really care. So.
I bet she would not have had this reaction had it been George Clooney who asked her to go on a coffee.
Oh yeah, she had to be physically attracted to someone, and then some guy asked me out, and I said no. Like, oh, okay, do we care?
Know the work rules.
Yeah. One woman telling her her experiences with other people. Like, wow, what a great story. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, the gist of it is that all the socialist activists that claim to be into games or games journalism shriek in revulsion of Gamergate because it is this metaphysical thing that threatens to call them out on their bullshit. That's all it is.
All right, fair enough.
But I have to demonize it.
Let's get back to the video.
600 years pass, and things have changed considerably from what people saw from the Milky Way galaxy.
Because it's not the Milky Way galaxy.
For the initiative. Having access to flying to these various worlds and finding out what changed from when they saw it 600 years ago to now is part of the mission of colonizing the galaxy.
You're not colonizing the galaxy. What are you talking? You can't.
I mean, that's kind of the goal, is to
the galaxy
form colony. I mean, you're colonizing the cluster, yeah.
But what does this have to do with the Milky Way galaxy and things being different? This is a new place. It's like you've never been there before.
Well,
it's like you don't have a point of reference.
How did they get? How did they get 600 years? Well, like, whose idea was it to be like, let's take readings now and then assume that 600 years from now these worlds will still be in the same state they're in now?
Well, 600 years isn't that much for a planet.
When you're using a magical telescope from your
many? Let me ask you something, Whisp. How many factories were built 600 years ago?
Let me ask you this. How many factories have been built between 20,000 and 19,400 years ago?
Okay, so, I mean, the point here is, yes, 600 years can have no changes. It can also have dramatic changes.
Yeah, if there's already a civilization and it has its industrialization boom.
Right, and they don't know that there's a civilization. That's the whole point here. They're just working on faith that these worlds they took base level readings of will be identical in 6 centuries.
Yeah, and
the irony is that a bunch of SJWs made a colonization game.
Well, the whole premise is that it's based off the Geth smashing 3 Mass Effect relays together to make a telescope of real-time data of the Andromeda galaxy and finding all this data on planets.
Real time?
Wait. That would mean they could 600 years later, if that thing still exists, observe what's going on with their colony ship things.
Well, real time at the point of they got the data, then the thing stopped working. But that's the concept or the premise of the whole project, is that they have this, hey, we can go over there. There's worlds that are habitable. And you're like, okay, but there's also a whole galaxy we have right here that's habitable that we haven't discovered yet. So
it wasn't the idea. I do understand the idea of send this Exodus mission in the case the Reapers go bonkers and destroy everyone here. Yeah, because we hope that there are no Reapers in the other galaxy for some reason.
Yeah,
that I can understand.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind the premise of you are part of the colonization or part of the exploration mission to leave the galaxy. That's the premise itself is not the issue, because it could work, right? There's potential there, but yeah, part of the problem is there's still plenty of Milky Way to explore. Part of the problem is they didn't put any thought into it. And part of the problem is, like, you have to hand wave, like, somehow you can get real-time data but not send the ship in real time. Like,
yeah, you
need to do one or the other. You need to be like, okay, this is the Andromeda project, and we're going there to basically build the other end of the triple Mass Effect relay.
Yeah.
And then, like, now there's instantaneous travel. Or it needs to be, we have no idea what's there. We are truly, going off into the unknown.
Right.
And we have no idea what we're going to find, but we're going to be in cryosleep for the journey. And then, it's going to be like a Outer Worlds situation where it's like we're going to wake people up a little at a time and leave people in cryosleep, that kind of thing. Yeah, you need to do one or the other if you're going to full commit to the idea of the Andromeda galaxy.
Yeah, the setup with the Geth telescope thing was just a hand wave to say, oh, we have actual data of the galaxy, which is useful. And then say, hey, why don't we research how to use this 3-pronged relay thing to travel, as opposed to just going to light speed and just waiting hundreds and hundreds of years. Like, why don't we try and figure that out? If the Geth could do it, some of our engineers could possibly have some insight into it. It can't be that impossible if the Geth could figure it out. So they didn't bother to talk about that or have like a one-way thing. Like, they use the thing and then it breaks and you're stranded. That would have been fine. It didn't have to be 600 years ago or away. So there's lots of things that just did not make perfect logic that people would want to do this and be stuck in transit for this long. So it's kind of a dumb shot in the dark when you could have done that with, again, the existing galaxy. And there's no mention of Reapers. There's nothing. It's just they're doing a soft reboot. Let's go to another part of the world. Oh, another galaxy. Let's assume there's no Reapers there and have a story. And it's like, okay, fine. That could work. But you can't bore us. You can't make it so there's no conflict or there's no real stakes outside of dumb political mumbo-jumbo and some invading force that just gets there right before you do. Because...
Yeah, like, they should have gone full Star Trek, where it was like there's little to no interpersonal conflict between the crew. It's all, man versus nature. You really need to lean into the exploration angle is what you need to do if you're going to make your premise be that you are the Pathfinder. You are the first in line. Yeah,
I wish they would.
You are the one finding out about this new place.
I wish they would have done the whole, we have this one-way ticket, or we have we're going to make our own transit system. We're going to make this brand new tech and it fails. And all you have is your wits and whatever gear you've got on your ship for exploration, and go, and you're stuck. And you're always hoping that communications will pop up again to the regional galaxy or whatever the scenario was. But you're stuck and you got to survive. And survival would be number one. It's like, oh my God, we need water, we need food, we need energy, we need all these things. We got to go mine, we got to go hunt, we got to do all these crazy things. And then there's all these mysteries. And just go with the DLC model of, hey, episodic storytelling, now we got this to deal with. Oh, we just found a new resource, now we can make new guns. And that'll be a new download, a free download, whatever, DLC method they had planned, and go with the multiplayer. Hey, now we can defend our bases, and it's the same way you did in Mass Effect 3. You had to have your readiness scale up to affect some other outcome. That could have worked. It could have been modular. They could have had, hey, we're dumb. We have to release something. Let's do this in piecemeal with DLC, with free download packs, maybe some purchasable ones for whatever reason. They could have done many things, but the premise was kind of boring. It was kind of broken and didn't make too much sense as a project. As a let's go out into the unknown. It's like, yeah, let's do that within our timeline of normal framing, like, that galaxy, or sorry, that cluster far, far away, not that galaxy far, far away. And without the threat of Reapers, it makes no sense. So it's not worth the risk. But anyway,
you could also have other things have happened. Like there have been sci-fi games that had this whole send arc ships through a wormhole or other way by other means into a galaxy.
Alpha Centauri,
before Alpha Centauri, Freelancer. And EVE Online, and they all made something interesting out of that. One anomaly that Andromeda could have done would have been malfunctions in the cryosleep thing, and that one ship actually did land as it should, and the others were just hanging in there in space 100 years more. And so one of the other civilization ships had already 100 years to build something and turned to shit or
that would have been really cool.
Whatever.
That would have been like to see like an advanced Solarian civilization, like was 400 years old, but it died out, and you're like, oh my God.
Oh no. Here, look. There's Krogans.
There shouldn't be.
I know. But for some odd reason, you have Krogans, and the plan was that, okay, we take altruistic volunteer Krogans, haha, that come to us as a force to really help establish this thing against like really horrible environmental fauna hazards. And those Krogans smuggled in a few females into the program that nobody knows about. They were registered as male. And their ship actually worked fine. The others were sabotaged, and they had 100 years ahead of building their own Krogan empire. And whatever other problem you have Krogans now.
Yeah, see, that would still work with the lore that we already know. You don't have to invent new aliens, but you can invent a totally different Krogan culture with their own weapons and societal practices and diplomatic options. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can have other civilizations in this universe. They now just have to deal with fucking Krogans. And now you wake up and there's this whole war going on with Krogans versus whoever else.
And you go from explorer to soldier very quickly, and you have to figure that out.
And then you decide, do you join with the Krogans or the rest of this wacky place, or is everyone an asshole?
That would have worked fine. That would have been, well, okay, the premise, we can make any dozen of space premises with Mass Effect and traveling to a new place with time being wonky. And, on premise alone, it would be easier to execute, and it would be closer to the storytelling of Mass Effect, which is to focus on choices and factions and who's doing what.
Matthias just said, but guys, that requires good writing. Matthias, I just wrote it on the fly, here, on stream.
What it requires is thought.
Yeah, can you imagine a Quarian species that are partially alive on a planet that they found, and they got, because they have the best tech, so they got there faster or whatever, and they start adapting after 100 years. So you actually get to see Quarians in a different culture with different tech, with AI running around, and they're not trying to kill each other. Or maybe they are secretly. Like, there's all these great things with the Mass Effect lore we already got that you could just develop because you have time as your wonderful little playpen. Your setting could be whatever you like. All kinds of good stuff. And you can even bring back old plot lines like dark matter or dark energy or whatever the hell they were trying to do in Mass Effect 2. That didn't go anywhere. So, so many opportunities. Such a waste. But, yeah. These ideas on paper sound great. And then you watch them in execution, you're just like, wow. That's what you came up with? So, anyway.
Hipster shit.
Species is something to be expected, and something that, spoiler alert, does in fact happen. Having just gotten to Andromeda after 600 years of cryosleep, it's safe to assume that this initiative has no way of communicating with anyone from their old home in the Milky Way.
Why do they all speak English?
Because they're so far away, they can't just go back or ask for help.
Shuttles, oh my god.
I think there's a hand wave in game that the whatever name of the species is, like, I can like understand language by touch or mind meld or something.
Oh god.
Some ridiculous nonsense. Like, honestly, there should be like a whole subplot in the game where you are like killing mass amounts of some alien life and you don't even realize it because they're based on their life form is based on something so foreign that you don't even realize they are alive because there's no organic readings.
Yeah, they survive in a certain atmosphere or
energy beings, right. Rock beings, something.
Standard Star Trek, yeah.
Something.
The entire thing is you have this you have some slime creatures that want to interact with you, but by doing so, by physical contact, instantly poison you to anaphylactic shock. Like a shark can mainly just interact with you by they're curious animals, but the problem is they can only interact with you by biting. And when they do that and they get blood, they go into a frenzy. So they don't mean ill, they just are wired shit. And it's sufficient for them as a species. Now you have this as a sentient species, you get this fuck up moment, and then you of course think, oh god, this is just some horrible pathogen that's around, and you never get the idea that these are actually sentient individual puddles of things.
Yeah.
And your first contact was just fucked up. And the whole thing with the Angora is that the entire thing of, oh, we don't speak the same language, let's figure out how to communicate with each other, is the core part of exploration and a Star Trek.
That's the entire thing, is they needed, if they were going to base the story on explore brave new worlds, go where no man has gone before, that stuff, you have to lean into it.
Very similar to how the first episode of the Enterprise show, where he had to get a team, you had to get an expert linguist, an expert pilot, get all the experts you need. Get a xenobiologist expert, get all these guys on board, because you're doing this exploration mission. And that's what we needed to have. We needed to have, Liam, the paramedic. We needed, the best xenobiologist doctor.
Are there any linguists in the Andromeda project?
Right.
That's a bad.
I don't actually know the answer.
Then it's probably zero.
Yeah, we needed a tech expert.
Which is absolutely retarded. We make this trek with Noah's Ark, several Noah's Arks, into a foreign galaxy. We don't know whether there are civilizations in the first place, and we don't take anyone who understands languages.
Look at the archaeologists they got. They got PB.
I have a bone to pick with someone in the chat here telling us Mass Effect is rule of cool first, and they speak English because the story needs to be told. No.
Bullshit.
Mass Effect is not rule of cool first. Mass Effect Andromeda is rule of cool first. Mass Effect 1 is detail first.
Yeah, it tried to be actual science fiction.
Yes. In Mass Effect, there is an explanation. Granted, it's in the Codex, but there is an explanation why everybody speaks English in Mass Effect. It's there.
Yeah, we're talking about
there is
hard
thought
sci-fi
put into it. There is an entire race of aliens who communicate via bioluminescence, and there is thought put into how they communicate in English. They don't speak English for the sake of it. They speak English, there's detail. There's reasoning behind why the bioluminescent jellyfish can speak English.
Yeah, this is the downgrade when we got to Mass Effect 2. We went from hard sci-fi to, we've set everything up. Let's have streamlined combat, RPG mechanics, turn that off a bit, and just focus on shooting things. So they redesigned all the shooting. They redesigned many things just to get that broad market appeal. And they called in the Codex guy to do the same lines pretty much. They added a few extra things like red sand or whatever. But it was pretty much the same stuff. They didn't really change much. They took away the lore. They retconned guns. They changed how the ships move, how they slow down, because the whole thing was that the relays shoot you instantly to one spot because it's so fast, and then you have to decelerate. They sort of forgot about that whole process. There's all these wonderful hard sci-fi things they put in there, and that you see that degradation as it went to the third game as well, with the frickin' Citadel opening up like a flower and killing everyone. If they weren't already dead from the Reaper or the invasion on the Citadel, then they're all flown into space.
Insane acceleration.
Yeah.
That movement.
Anyway, there's lots of problems with the second and third game for hard sci-fi reasons, and if they only stuck with it, they probably would have had a much tighter script and just as dramatic, if not even more meaningful than what happened.
Where you have a strong mix of plot convenient things and actual sci-fi ideas was in Farscape. Where in the first episode they just solved there's different aliens on the ship. They all speak their own languages, but they understand each other because in that part of the galaxy, it's a common thing to be injected at a young age with nanobots that translate everything in your brain that you hear. So and help translate everything that everyone hears from you.
Yeah, I remember a scene. Well, there's 2 episodes of Bab 5 where they're trying to hear the Narn speech. One of them is with a translator broken, or the video recording of the Narn wasn't translated, so you just hear the language. And the other one was with Sheridan talking to a prisoner, or trying to communicate to a Narn, and they couldn't talk because they're different aliens. So it was like, yeah, this is what would happen. You're 2 guys in a cell. One guy points to his mouth. He's like, "You got any food?" And he goes, "No." So it's like, okay, we understood that. So there's lots of opportunities to have first contact scenarios.
The Mantis guy who's just in his room and sells information.
Yeah,
and he needs the translation device because what kind of noises can he even make
in his own gaseous atmosphere? Yeah, it's great. It's really that
the,
was Alien.
The Volon itself basically just making nobody knows what that is translated into human speech. You keep hearing 1,000 voices making noises at the same time, and his suit blinking, and then out comes yes.
Yeah, everyone hears their own thing.
That's great.
Yeah, no. There's lots of great ideas in sci-fi and science fiction back in the 60s and 70s, and I think JMS knew that when he talked to Harlan Ellison, one of his best friends at the time. So he came from a pedigree of good sci-fi stories, and that's what Mass Effect, the first game, was inspired by, even remotely. Obviously not as much as other stories, but the effort they put into just world building was there. And that was degraded over time.
Yeah, to put it bluntly, Mass Effect is Star Trek: The Next Generation. Mass Effect Andromeda is The Last Jedi.
I'm trying to think about that. That's a bit of a... I don't even know how to connect the dots.
Exactly.
There's a lot of problems with Andromeda. A lot. Jeez, I can't begin to think about this. With TLJ, it was designed specifically with one vision in mind by one crazy dude.
I don't think there was a vision.
Oh, well, one guy at least.
The movie makes no sense.
With Andromeda, you had multiple moving parts from multiple people coming in and out of the office and leaving and joining. And it took Mac Walters to put his foot down and say, "Okay, guys, what the frickin' hell is this project?" And they said, "Okay, let's figure this out and get this done within the next year." So that's what we got, and it's broken. It was broken.
These childish hags with whose hair dye has seeped into their skulls, into their brains.
I don't think
get these wonderful opportunities.
I don't think they got to the writer's room. I really don't. I think the writer's room is its own ball of wax. And
but even especially that there's these absolutely worthless, uncreative, narcissistic hack people that just bully others, and they got these amazing opportunities that real fans, enthusiasts, gamers would almost kill for to get the opportunity to work on, and instead it's these random cat ladies that get these opportunities. It is more than just a shame.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know how the creative.
I would love the opportunity to work on something like this.
Oh, sure. I mean, as an idea guy, but once you realize you have to argue with other writers, it's really tough to get proper story. Like I've worked in writer circles at school, and your idea is only as good as how well you could argue it. But even then, it comes down to the person who has the idea and say, "Well, I don't like it. I'm not gonna go with it." And
yeah, and I've been in writers workshops in the arts university here. They didn't know I wasn't a student. I was just there because I was bored. And like there's this, mainly most people just have completely generic, boring ideas. And then you have like 3 people in the entire room of 30 that have interesting stuff. And oh god, no, it's a humble brag. I got a what is it? I got a compliment from the comic book writer who was holding the workshop for my ideas. I'm happy. I'm not telling you what, because maybe I'm gonna use it someday.
There's 101 good ideas out there. It's really about the execution. So you could have a crazy concept, and so long as you know how to express it and why, people will care. And
by the way, I forgot the name of the guy, but he said he had a successful comic about some apocalypse thing, and that apparently most of it was in I think in eerie green, but he always thought he's making the comic in a bright scalding orange because it's this post-nuclear war apocalypse thing. But the reason why is he's colorblind, so he always thought he's making it in this bright orange, but it's actually in this eerie nuclear green. It's kind of funny, but I forgot what the comic's called, so I never looked it up. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, drop me a message, because maybe I'm gonna look into it after all.
All right, well, let's get back to the video if you guys want.
I seem competent.
Here we go.
They're effectively on their own out here to build up their civilizations, not quite from scratch, but close to it. This group of races knows everything in the Milky Way galaxy up to the point when they first launched. Everything that's happened back there since is not possible for these people to know. Looking to the past is pointless. Looking toward the future and building up is what matters out here. The planet being different from what everyone was expecting 600 years ago is only the start of the issues they face. Mutiny.
I don't need evidence to put a bullet in your skull.
Hostile aliens.
I've been in this forsaken cluster for decades, surrounded by amoeba.
Racism.
Your people are a joke.
These are a few of the issues they come across in this new galaxy. The more they explore, the more similarities they find between the home they left and this new location. The only difference being, this is the start of their work. Hostile aliens out there with an unknown number to their species. Couple that with the fact that not only does the initiative have a finite amount of people, a very large portion is either missing or still in cryosleep. You can't just wake everyone up with no way of sustaining them all, let alone fight back against an entire race that's been well established in Andromeda as a whole to begin with. All of these issues are all piled on all at once. The scales are stacked against the initiative. It's up to the Pathfinders, one person for each arc, transporting entire races to Andromeda, to go out with their crews and find livable planets to start colonizing and getting a foothold. This setting is not only a worst-case scenario to start with, it's entirely believable to back it up. If you send a number of arcs containing about 20,000 people on each one to a galaxy over a span of 600 years in cryosleep, not only are things changing in this location with that amount of time passing.
May I just note that the idea of the space cancer was stupid.
Was it a tree they couldn't detect or some nonsense fungus thing that just extended all the way to the planet or from the planet? I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember.
It caused the weird storms. It caused all this nonsense for the golden planet.
We need a MacGuffin.
We got to break the ship by this undetectable thing. It's like, what? You can look out a window?
Because we can't write actual science fiction, interesting stuff. We have to make standard bullshit.
Unknown, gigantic tree, space tree thing that rams into the ship. You're like, what? Okay. And that was it. That was the only time it's used. It's gone after that. We never see it again.
But you're going over there with maybe 100,000 people to a location with a plan on how to get started. Being on the back foot as 100,000 versus an already established race of billions or more is to be expected if things go south. This is a great setup to a story where you are the underdog in every way.
On paper, maybe. Again, in theory, yeah, you can have lots of great concepts.
Well, you could also discover a new continent and you are completely outnumbered, but you have the better technology, so you destroy their fucking tyrannical human sacrifice empire.
Or this could be a resource war where it's like, oh, now that we're here, we have the superior guns that never run out of ammo, unless we use the newer ones, then yeah, we do run out of ammo.
Yeah, the stupid ones.
Yeah, the stupid guns.
Oh yeah, you just have this one chest in the back with one set of the old guns just in case
we run out of ammo. Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense to outfit the Andromeda project with the old guns because, hey, we don't know what we run into. We may not be able to manufacture new ammunition.
Well, that would have been great if it was an actual resource war where you could literally see the stats of what you've got versus the enemy. Oh, we're going to fight a war. What do we do? Well, we only have this many pieces of tungsten or whatever for bullets, or we only have this many element 0 packs.
Am I actually on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
The entire idea of being able to eliminate the necessity of ammo is something that you don't want to throw away in science fiction unless it is for special occasions, special situations. So if there had been really special guns that had a classical ammunition system on top of your standard guns that are infinite, I would have understood that. I'd been okay with that.
Oh yeah, but we're talking about going to a planet, going to somewhere it's alien that you need resources to survive. So you're going to want to take those old guns. You're going to want to get nitty gritty with organic material, inorganic material, technological material, like everything you need to build stuff. And that should have been the basis. It's like, we have all the water, you have all the food. We're going to negotiate, or we're going to blow your heads off. This is this is how it should go. It's the Wild West. We communicate. We have a diplomatic solution, or if that doesn't work, we're going to go renegade. We're going to blow your head off. This is standard stuff. And you could have even used the dumb Paragon Renegade system if you really wanted. But there's so many opportunities to do stuff like that. I know it sounds kind of gimmicky, or it sounds kind of like a transactional scenario, and you could have had those dumb. If you guys have played Metal Gear Solid 5, where you had all these quests which were similar, and they just kept popping up, like go rescue this guy, go find this thing, and go destroy that thing. Like that just kept happening. So it got repetitive after a while. But that's what should have been happening. This should have been a resource war akin to an RTS, where you need certain resources to get to a certain level of competency or military preparedness to advance the story and technology or whatever. And that should have been fine. But no, it had to have a plot line with an alien race who wanted to take over another alien race. And you're like, okay.
And here's a plot line. You have the actual evil expansionist empire, alien empire, in the back of the galaxy. You haven't gone there yet. You don't know they exist yet. And between you and them, there's a bunch of new alien races that are all smaller and on lower tech levels than you. And it's a whole sum. Sum is greater than the parts. And you can then decide for your as you eventually come across that empire, do you just knock out all these other races for your own exploitations, or do you do the diplomatic thing and build your alliance with everyone which is almost a classic plot, if you will, but with dynamic options of who do you keep, who do you throw out of this alliance that you build, this nation building effectively. You shape how your encounter with the enemy empire will go.
See, that
because
sounds...
maybe there's a reason, maybe there's a species that will fall into your back and backstab you.
That sounds like a 4X.
But you do not know which it will be every playthrough.
Yeah, but that sounds like an RTS or 4X game where you have these self-generated aliens that you don't know what they're going to be like. They could be militaristic, they could be expansionist, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this dialogue system that Mass Effect is known for, and it's generated by itself. Yeah, they could not like the gentle approach. They like the military approach. They like the warlike approach. Maybe they can't even speak your language yet, and they're going to use some other method of communication like after a war.
Yeah. I would make it this. I would make it this way. The alien races themselves are fixed in their design and their attitudes, but as you go through the galaxy, you have random timed events, like you think Majora's Mask. You have these timed these things that are just happen in a timed interval, and you can't be everywhere at the same time. That's why you can only deal with that race at this time, the other race at that time, and solve their issues so that they become friendly. And the other races basically can throw you throw some RNG in there, throw the dice of how events play out there, and that determines their attitude that you don't know about. So maybe they will grow to like you naturally, or they will get openly hostile or backstabby when you least expect it.
Well,
they just want to exploit you, and that would be, you can influence that by interacting with them, of course, but you can't interact with everyone at the same time because time is going on.
Yeah, and you can't communicate because you don't know their language, and you could have like this roaming band of complete alien beings that you don't know what they want, you don't know how their technology works, you don't know how they communicate, and they could be inching closer and closer to your settlement, and you have to race to figure out, who are these guys, how do I communicate with them, how do I get them off my back, or else they're going to eat you alive, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, like let's have 5 alien races.
Sure.
Or 8. Well, let's stay with 5. And then if you have something akin to the indoctrination thing, where the evil empire actually does enslave one of them, be it a stupid way or be it a slow way. I'd rather prefer the slow way, where on your first playthrough, you can't really catch the little details, the red flags, that race is being slowly turned. And because you never knew them before.
Right, yeah.
And then that is going to be a fun reveal, because on your first playthrough, you won't know which of these races works how. You just think, oh, these are new people. Oh, how funny. They're probably like cybernetics. That's why the eyes are glowing.
Okay. Think of, yeah, that works out. Think of the XCOM, I don't know if you guys played XCOM 2 War of the Chosen, where those 3 mini-boss guys can capture one of your units, and then you have to have a whole mission just to get your unit back because they captured him for questioning or whatever. That could happen to one of your teammates or one of your NPCs. There's this whole other mission plan just to go in there, and you could do it diplomatically, you could do it stealth, you could just go in guns blazing. Like, there's all these great opportunities to have this Wild West scenario of building bases, communicating, having a trade agreements, having a working economy of trade with barter and what's expensive, what's cheap, and how do you get more organics to these guys so they can befriend you, and how you can unlock new tech. All kinds of, like, we could set up, I could probably plan out a game right now, next few days, of all the scenarios of First Contact, how that would play out, how the dialogue trees would work. What kind of...
We have a shortage of this resource, and then you negotiate a trade agreement with this other species, and these 2 species don't even know each other yet. and that immediately builds your alliance.
Just like Civilization 3 and 4. Hey, I can reveal the location.
Just from a first-person perspective.
Yeah, this is so simple. This is stuff we've done before for the past 30 years playing video games. We go, oh yeah, well, Civ games do this, 4X games do that, stealth games do this.
Yeah. You could have done a dozen interesting things with Andromeda.
I know. It's amazing.
Instead it's
and this is on
bad action movie.
This is basic gameplay. This is not even like the alien race who does this. Like, yeah, okay, you could write a story.
Well, it's the interesting sci-fi gameplay and not just the I have a weird cover shooter thing.
I have a AI in my brain that could
I have a sci-fi cover shooter without much of a story.
Yeah, it's the Sam story. It's just Sam does everything. You walk around and Sam tells you what to do, and you do whatever Sam tells you, and that's it.
On serious, Sam?
Well, that would have been fun, but no.
It would have been a lot more entertaining if your AI had been serious, Sam.
Yeah, the guys with their heads cut off.
Does Serious Sam even talk? It's been years since I played.
But you do have an AI thing, I believe. You have a codex, and it has tons of information. It's insane how much backstory Serious Sam has. If you open
AI
the
should
menu,
have been Duke Nukem.
Yeah, but that brings us to the question: why play this game here if you can play Serious Sam?
Not everyone knows the joy that is Serious Sam. It's kind of missed people's radars.
Listen, Wisp. In Serious Sam, does the sniper rifle feel tactical?
I think the cannon feels tactical.
Does it feel powerful?
The cannon feels very powerful. It shoots a cannonball.
Okay, but does Serious Sam let you jump with the space bar?
Yes.
What about aiming down the sights with the right mouse button?
I don't remember. I don't think you have time.
Do you guys actually want to watch the rest of this video?
Too many invisible headless people with bombs in their hands trying to run up to you and jihad you.
Well, I'm just saying, do you guys actually want to continue watching this video? Because there's really no point.
Sure.
Yes.
You want to keep going? All right.
Yes.
Let's go.
And the Pathfinder is on the back foot. Everyone loves a good come-from-behind storyline, and this gives you all the necessary information to start said story.
Not if it's a good one.
The main character goes from here.
He just used the phrase "come from behind" storyline, which is 4 words, when he could have said underdog and conveyed the same message in 1 word.
Maybe he.
So little things.
Maybe he liked the innuendo.
Rags to riches. I don't know, dude. This guy is not very cognizant of what he's saying or what he's written.
It's little things like that that show that you weren't paying attention when you wrote the video out.
I think on top of not having played many games, he also hasn't read a lot of stuff.
No, his English skills are not as refined as some of us might appreciate.
Yeah, but he doesn't know a good story from a bad one because he probably never read a good story.
Well, he knows that everyone likes an underdog story, so I guess he knows.
We still haven't gotten to the part with the story.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
We're on the world. We've been through gameplay and world. We haven't gotten to the story yet.
No, I don't want to go there.
All right, let's keep going.
Up to the writers and the player, since this game is choice-driven, where your choices have consequences.
No, they don't.
There's not even Ragnar here.
Bye, Sloan.
Bye.
God, she's so ugly.
Oh, the facial animation is
Speaking
so
of
bad.
Choices with
this character have
consequences.
been any more
Let's move on
ugly?
over to the story, quests, and characters.
I guess your kinetic barrier never worked or never existed.
Finally! The relevant part
Okay. Here we
of
go.
why Andromeda sucks.
Oh, look at all those memorable faces.
Now, BioWare is well known around the
They look
world
so
to be a
dumb.
juggernaut in the narrative field of video games.
Well, they were. BioWare was known around the gaming world as being that.
A juggernaut compared to what? EA in general? Like, what are you talking? Like, who's the juggernaut of video game writing? Like, who's the team that does that? Aside from the guys on Black Isle, or originally BioWare was, when they made interesting games like KOTOR.
Jade Empire?
Maybe.
Arguably, Jade Empire and Mass Effect 1 were some of the strongest written games of their eras.
You could say Mary DeMarle from Eidos at the time.
What was his name? Richard Garriott, when he was involved in games. They were usually pretty okay written. Was he involved in Vanguard?
Well, I always default myself to Chris Avellone when we talk about concepts and story, and his team of guys that he knows and hangs out with. So Obsidian Entertainment is kind of an offshoot of that, or used to be part of that.
Yeah.
So
Josh Sawyer.
He's okay. I like him.
What's his name? Who was the
New Vegas guy?
The lead on New Vegas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There is talent out there.
Thing is, there just aren't that many companies.
John Gonzalez, that was his name.
Big, the big Western RPGs.
Sure, yeah.
Like Fallout falls into that.
Kinda, yeah.
But it's after that it's starting to get thin. Lands of Law under Westwood Studios, that was great.
Westwood, wow, yeah.
Not Lands of Law 3, that was crap. But oh god, Lands of Law 2 is a game you need to play, seriously.
I don't know. I don't see too many
if you're German, play the German version because the dub is really good.
I might have to take away John Gonzalez's the props I just gave John Gonzalez, because I just read that he was apparently the narrative director of Horizon 2.
Oh. Interesting.
And Zero Dawn.
Oh. Yeah, I never touched those, so I don't know.
I will say Zero Dawn, you can actually, with that knowledge, I can kind of see that where his fingerprints are, because Horizon Zero Dawn has some of the most like obsessive attention to detail for why everything is the way it is in any game I've seen in the modern era. There is reasoning for everything.
Yeah. Oh, Amy Hennig from Naughty Dog at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Before she was relieved of her position.
Yeah.
She got Druckmanned.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are other writers and
actual competent writing woman in video games, and gets thrown out by the SJW who wants to put
I mentioned Mary DeMarle from Eidos. She's now working at BioWare. So yeah, that's always a good thing to see a good writer go somewhere that maybe someone will listen. But what stage in production? That's kind of odd. Why they called them in like this year?
She's a woman who missed. Okay.
If we talked just writing outside of, well, there are some RPGs in there as well. I would throw in, I don't know that many names, but I would generally throw in Sierra and LucasArts.
Back in the 90s, yeah.
Anyone ever played Quest for Glory?
Yep.
No.
That was great.
World building. Absolutely great world building.
It's such a great combination of, it's the adventure style click and discover kind of game. But
and great ways to die. You could actually kill yourself by using the, what's it called in English? The water pipe too much.
It was an interesting series.
Become a junkie.
It was fun what they did. It
was usually pretty serious, but you had these little jokes in there. And these,
I kind of like how the Sierra was it King's Quest? The latest one went full 3D and action adventure. Like, what the heck happened to King's Quest? So they had puzzles still, but it wasn't the same experience as the pixel art. So, but yeah, those were interesting. I like those stories. They had a bunch of other adventure games as well, like the Indiana Jones games. Those were kind of cool. Dagger of Amon Ra, I remember. That was a Laura Bow mystery. It was kind of interesting. But that's when things started going downhill because adventure games sort of killed themselves.
Yeah.
They committed suicide for this stupid logic in them.
They kind of also killed themselves when going 3D.
Space Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, all those weird ones, yeah.
We played The Dig.
The Dig, that was cool. That was really neat. Yeah,
it was one of the last adventure games by LucasArts, I believe.
That was a good one.
It had some crazy tech in it.
Yeah.
That game surprised the hell out of me.
I remember Gabriel Knight, Phantasmagoria, the X-Files one. That was like full FMV. That was cool. So lots of good games out there, interesting stories. But I wouldn't say, wow, you got to play this game for the story. The only one I always go to is Planescape Torment, but that's for premise and concept as well as storytelling. It's not just the writing.
The writing in Vampire Bloodlines was pretty good, I think.
I think parts of it, yeah. Not as a whole, but...
Yeah, a lot of it was solid.
Yeah.
They did lag time at the end, and you see that because they have these hack and slash segments by the end, but aside from that, or everything before that, absolutely gorgeous. There was one other example I had in my head, but I think it's slipping.
I was going to say Tactics,
but lots of games had great writing in it. I will bring up Schleichfahrt again, which is was a game by Blue Byte. If you played TIE Fighter or X-Wing,
sure,
it's basically that sort of engine.
Yeah.
But you are in a submarine where, of course, you can strafe and all of that nonsense, and you have undercurrents. So it's basically imagine you have the Fallout world, but everyone lives underwater in Rapture, like cities, because the surface is so irradiated that you can't go up too high or you die of radiation poisoning. And that is a great world building, great story, great mission design. The second game isn't so great because it's basically the story on rails. When the first game was actually you could explore yourself where you go and trade stuff, and a bit like what's it called? Like Elite.
The World of Battle Angel Elite?
No, Elite. There was a recent space trade game that I forgot the name of. That
okay.
Elite Dangerous?
No. You fly a trade ship through space, and there's different planets you can go. The original Elite fit on a floppy disk.
Wow.
And a few years ago, they made a modern version of that game with like state-of-the-art 3D stuff. But yeah,
Elite Dangerous?
Yeah, that's what keeps coming back to me, yeah.
No.
Anyway, guys, there's lots of other cool games out there with good stories over the years. But to say BioWare is like the gargantuan version of that, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been since like Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah, KOTOR,
maybe
Baldur's Gate.
arguably as late as Dragon Age.
The first one.
I doubt this guy has played any of the peak writing games of BioWare / Black Isle.
No, I doubt it. Okay.
Otherwise, he'd be pissed at what Andromeda is.
Well, if you play KOTOR, you would always like that's where Mass Effect came from. So it's like, all right, if you get that level, and arguably Mass Effect has that style of quality, or the style of scale. I don't know what you want to call it. The dramatic. It's more cutscene heavy than it is substance. So
yeah, and I mean even Neverwinter Nights, the first expansion, not Underdark, the one before, I forgot the name. That had a pretty good story too. They learned from the mistakes of not putting in a good campaign, single-player campaign for their game. And what blew me away was that all of these engines were upgrades until Andromeda, were upgrades of the Neverwinter Night Aurora engine.
Yeah,
that's all. That's still the same fucking game as this ugly piece of shit Neverwinter Nights. This is technically all still the same engine. It's just upgraded. I find that stunning. That in the end you sit there with Mass Effect.
All right, let's get back to the video.
Finally.
To make their games around the story itself, and like to have choice and consequences be a major gameplay factor in these game worlds. That being said, one of the major complaints about Mass Effect Andromeda has been about the story. From what I've seen online, while there are story parts that people don't like from it, saying it feels off.
I love how, if you guys looked at those two Asari, they have exactly the same face. Just watch that one more time.
From what I've seen online, while there are story parts that people don't like from it, saying it feels...
They really do. They have the same face.
Yeah, but she has the different texture.
Oh my god. Look at that.
But yeah, it's the same face.
Same ugly nose. I always pull up the nose because it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks goofy.
Can't have the Asari, the epitomes of female beauty anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like just get a hot looking model, and
they can't. Smart, they can't. The women all have to be uglified, because otherwise the female SJW devs get jealous of these unattainable beauty standards. They're so unrealistic because they're all fat couch potatoes.
All right.
Off from a Mass Effect game, I've seen quite a few reviews comparing the story to Mass Effect 3. There's a fundamental difference between 3's story that's been built up to a fever pitch with the Reapers attacking the whole galaxy from the 2 games before it, to that of Andromeda being the first in its section far away from the troubles of the Milky Way. To compare a new story to another that's been in the works for years is pretty unreasonable.
No, it's really not, because this is not a new story. It's a continuation of an existing story. It's not a soft reboot. It's a spin-off at best. And it exists in an existing world.
What's wrong with comparing the same franchise or the latest installment of a franchise to the previous or the other two and saying you can't really do that? It's like, yes, you can. It has a plot, it has characters, it has conflicts, it has goals and motivations. You got backstories, you got lore. Why can't you do that? Why do people love the second game overall? There's lots of reasons. They always say we like the characters, we like their storylines. It's fine. You can like a game for many reasons, but comparing that to Andromeda, it fails every time. The only thing it has going for it that I've ever heard positively is the gameplay, and the guy did not address why. He just says you can do mad tricks. Or was it sick tricks? I can't remember what it was. That's his justifiable position.
Oh, and you were right. It was Elite Dangerous. I just always think that name is the name of a tactical shooter.
Well,
for some reason.
Was it a Kickstarter? I think Elite Dangerous.
I believe so.
Yeah, I remember seeing. I was gonna put money into that, but then what was the game that I heard was coming out that also a space game that still has not come out yet? Oh, geez.
Star Citizen.
There it is. I was like,
We just need a couple more $1 million, guys.
A couple more decades. We're like, it's become its own worst nightmare. It's just this weird, scary thing of updates every week. It's like, oh my god, Studios, whatever it's called, has a new 42 update. You're like, that's.
I do give them that they have some really interesting technology. The planet generation stuff that I really dig. but well, you have to get your game going.
Yeah, but Starfield is like already there. Like Starfield has like all the stuff you wanted from that game. It's like, oh, it's right there. So it's sad, but
I said before that if a comparison should be made, it should be made to that of the first in the original trilogy.
Why?
Yeah, then it loses.
And it doesn't stand up well to that either.
Yeah, why just the first one, not the second one? Why not the third one?
I mean, like, I guess because it's supposed to be the beginning of a story,
Yeah.
but the problem is
Yeah, I see that.
it's not. Like I said, it's the TLJ problem, where it's following from something that exists.
Oh, it can be the foundational thing, but it has to respect all the stuff that came before and throw that all into a new environment.
Yeah.
And that can be interesting if you do it right.
Oh, original projected launch of Star Citizen was 2014, by the way.
What?
Yeah.
How? That's almost 10 years ago.
Yes.
We need another 10 years, guys. That's how it's going to come out. It's the only way.
It's the new Duke Nukem.
It's not about money. It's about time. They just need more time.
And for time you need
And more money.
because time
They're
is
up to
money.
$500 million budget
Oh my god.
from an initial Kickstarter of like maybe 2 million.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not as much as Rings of Power.
Well, I remember what was the 4 million Kickstarter game? It doubled its expectations. I think it was there's a list on Wikipedia I saw, and it was like, okay, the most invested Kickstarter game, and then they came out with Fig, I think, which is a whole platform for investing.
I think it was Double Fine Adventure.
Oh yeah, okay, now I remember.
Because Fig is the Double Fine, like Tim Schafer made Fig.
Right. And before that, they had the Numenera thing, which was right before Fig, because I remember when it came out, it was right after Numenera finished its Kickstart. And that was, oh jeez. The dumb thing with Fig is you get like a share in the company or a share in the profits of the sales, but it never, because everyone who wants the game has already donated, so there's no sales worth talking about, so you're not going to make any money. It's a royalty program, essentially. If you give $1,000, you get like one share or whatever the percentages. I don't know. It's sad. Not how it's going to work anymore, but they tried.
Since both are the first in their respective stories and are the jumping off point for the worlds they exist in. So now...
No. Andromeda is not the jumping off point for its world. It's the fourth game in a series.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is a heavy story-driven game, I will be talking about some spoilers while trying to avoid as much as possible. Alright.
Okay, stop. What you could equate this to is Star Trek Voyager. You cut off from your civilization completely, and you have all these established races thrown into a completely new environment with species and cultures and anomalies you have no fucking clue about. But you have to still abide by the rules of the Star Trek things that we know. That's what this is.
Yeah.
When it comes to the story of Andromeda, I talked about what was going on with the setting in the previous section, so I'll do a very quick rundown. You, Andromeda Initiative, get to Andromeda, problems, aliens, mutiny. Alright, I think we're caught up. So you wake up from cryosleep and find all these issues going on. Nothing seems to be the way it was supposed to be when you woke up from your 600-year nap. So, as the player, it's your job to find out the mysteries of what happened in that 600 years to change what the Initiative saw 600 years ago from the Milky Way. You are, insert name here, Ryder. You are the Pathfinder from the human arc after a bad turn of events.
Could be any more boring.
You get a...
I know, like, I have nothing to say because there's nothing here.
It's like every sentence is disconnected from the next. He has the same tone with like he's asking.
He's talking as if he's trying to pitch me a as if he's trying to pitch a cartoon to a 5-year-old. And it's not convincing me of this being good. I mean, yes, of course, you're going over all the fundamentals, but dude, you want to defend Andromeda, you don't have to do it to people who haven't played the game. You have to make your defense towards people who have played the game, and they know all this shit.
Yeah, he should
skip that.
He should be talking about the bad things or things that people think are bad, and going, see this lip sync? Yeah, it's bad, but they fixed it, or they did this, so it's not as bad compared to other games. Like he'll look at KOTOR, like the KOTOR lip sync is horrible or whatever. And you're like, okay, but that was a game like 10 years ago or 20 years, like whatever the time frame was. It's like, okay, so it has KOTOR level lip sync, looks a little better than KOTOR, but it has gunplay. It's like, oh, okay. Like you have to take the bad, defend it, and explain why it's not bad. And that's it. He's just listing things.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the vistas. They look beautiful. It's like, that's fine. No one said they looked bad. Look at the lip sync. It looks awful. Yeah, the lip sync. Look at the character models. Look at the customization options. Look at all this stuff that looks like shit. And if he was a modder who said, hey, I have a mod that fixes that crap, good. That's how you should sell it, because there's lots of mods for all these games which fix things.
Yeah, if the fourth game in your series is significantly worse in aspects that the previous three got right because they had the effort put in, then it's a bad game.
Yeah, no, by obvious comparison, you don't have to think. You just look at the pictures. You go, oh, yep, that looks like crap. That plays like crap. All you had to do was look at gameplay and say, see, when you press this button and this happens, we'll do that in Mass Effect 3. Oh, there's a hard melee. He has more weapon options in Andromeda. Why is that better? Why is that worse? Compare. It's all you do. You don't just say, I like Ryder. Look at the characters. It's like, and?
Crew and go out on your quest amongst the stars in the Helios cluster to start searching for or making livable worlds for everyone that traveled with you to this new galaxy.
And when do you do that? When do you actually make a livable world?
Oh, you do several times. You just push the magic livable world button.
You unlock the guy from Cryo to be a scientist. You unlock the guy from Cryo to be a military. It's like, that's it. There is no build. There's no base building. There's no development. Those phone games.
That would be interesting.
Where you have
you slowly develop the little outpost you have.
Yeah.
And start a terraforming project and plant your first tree.
Those phone games have more.
Yeah.
Like customization. You could put a SimCity style thing over there, and you could upgrade it, and you get more resources. You unlock some tech, and you research new, that has more stuff than this game does.
Yeah. You know what's more interesting in making a livable world than this bullshit here? I'm shit with names. The guy in Africa where desertification was rampant for a long time before his birth, and he had learned on how to plant trees from some dude or some book, whatever. And he started to plant trees. And a decade later, where there was desert, he had a little forest. And people loved it. Because he took back the desert and turned it green again. Because that's possible if you know how to do it. That is interesting. That is amazing. Andromeda doesn't even know what the fuck they're doing. This is how hipsters imagine terraforming works, because they put like what's it called? A plant pot on their balcony.
In Andromeda's case,
or
it's a
some
magic
dirt on top of a tarp and plant some grass in it.
Exactly.
Well, they have the magic technology that you press a button because the AI in your brain allows you to.
Yeah, that's why they believe it's just at the push of a button.
Yeah.
That's literally the belief of how we come to the communist utopia, space communism. We just need
Food
to press
comes
the
from
button.
the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pressing a button.
Take out the Revenant or whatever their terraform tech is, and the whole story goes. It's a completely different story.
In 100 years, people may look back at Mass Effect Andromeda and classify it as an early foreshadowing of idiocracy. The real life
This being a Mass
idiocracy.
Effect game, there's a lot of dialogue, choices, and relationships for you to work with. You have your crew that you have talks with on the ship about certain things with them.
One hell of a trip this is turning out to be. Hostiles, ruined worlds, no home in sight.
Things that happen in
Wash
the
your
story.
face.
Look at his face. He has no expression. He's just moving his lips.
It looks like it's riddled with parasites.
So much for centuries of wisdom and experience, huh?
Guess we're all just bailing each other out.
And their own personal stories in Andromeda.
Made it through the Krogan rebellions. Watched my culture disintegrate. Survived centuries as a merc. And also...
I think the reason why Drac is the best is because he's an alien, and we don't identify his facial movements as human, so it's like, okay, he's an alien.
Mm-hmm.
That makes perfect sense. You see Cora...
He looks the most alive of anyone.
Yeah, when you see Cora moving her face like a she got a nervous tick every time she opens her mouth, you're like, that's not normal.
It's also why the Taurians work better.
It's like they're trying to animate a 2D character, but with 3D controls. You're like, that's not how you do it.
You get to see what drives these characters forward, their relationships with certain factions and characters, and how they change over time as they give you missions eventually leading up to their loyalty mission.
Was there a reason why she paints her face like that? Like any logical reason?
Splatoon. I'm not kidding. Splatoon.
Because usually when you see the Asari, they have very specific kinds of tattoos, or like Liara has specific makeup on. This is just like someone just plastered, like spray painted, like they had a sheet on her head and they cut a hole and they just spray painted the hole.
Splatoon was a big thing at the time. This is because of Splatoon. Because she's a quirky squid. So she gets a Splatoon makeup.
It's the laziest design I've like. Even Hawk in Dragon Age 2 had a specific reason why he had a blood smear on his nose.
Yeah, alternatively...
She was born from a race of football players.
Oh yeah.
Alternatively, she's the space squid equivalent to a trash panda. But I stick with this Splatoon theory.
So they got that.
Yeah, no, it's because she was born to her father was an alien from a race of football players. And so the facial markings they leave on their children is eye black.
Yeah, the eye black strip, right. For reducing glare because you're looking at helmets that are reflecting in your face the entire time. But with her...
That's why it's on her eyes instead of underneath them.
It's just like, what the hell are you doing, lady? Can you imagine? Like, this is something Batman would have a problem with, because Batman always has to paint his eyelids because they can't match up with his mask. But she doesn't have a mask. She doesn't even wear one. Like, what are you doing?
It's Splatoon makeup.
Oh, God.
What he's describing he's describing game mechanics again. And this whole thing of you talk with your NPCs. They give you quests. You solve the quests. You learn more about the backstory of the NPC. That's old shit. That's it. Stop describing the basic shit. Talk about the content, the substance.
Yeah, we still this is still not a defense.
What you just described, I can play Ever Oasis 4. Came out in 2017. There's I think about 60 characters that come to your Oasis, and they all have their own personalities. They all have their own quest lines, through which you get to know them better. They all have their little stories. 60 characters. And that's even as small as these are, that stuff is better written than this crap in Andromeda.
I seem to recall art teachers I've listened to that, they don't describe the painting. They describe the significance and the technique and how special something like Picasso's Guernica or something that you're like, what does this mean? And they give you the reasons why it's so impactful and meaningful in the history. Like that's something, wow, like I would want a tour guide of a museum or an art gallery to explain what this means. All he's doing is saying, you see in Guernica, that's a bull. And he painted it like that.
What he's doing is a picture description, not an analysis.
Yeah, he's just saying this is PB, and she has blue skin, and she's the archaeologist, and she tells you stuff, and it's like, okay.
Wonderful, you passed first grade of elementary school.
Yeah, you have a working memory. Thanks for describing what you can see. I don't get what he's getting. Like,
apparently that is enough to get through university now.
The characters have lip sync and voice actors. Like what? Yeah, and
you can describe a picture. Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay.
You can describe that pushing the A button puts an A on the screen. Hooray!
Not only are you able to interact with your companions, but they also interact and talk with each other while out in the world. You get to see them talk mostly while riding in the Nomad.
Like every other BioWare game.
With the different combinations working together for the first time. Out of the
Brutal Legend does
hour
this.
playthrough that I did, I don't think
Baldur's
I've heard
Gate
them
does this.
repeat any single dialogue with each other whatsoever. That's commendable and helps to make them feel more real. Considering how often in games that repeating dialogue occurs, this is a fantastic way to make a game feel more believable and real.
There's party banter.
Various missions help to teach you more about them.
That's
Cora
what he's talking. There's party
and
banter.
Her loyalty mission delves into the idea of what happens when you meet your heroes.
I chose protecting all these people over a single life.
God, that looks dead.
Train us to make, Lieutenant.
What the fuck is that
movement? That neck spin?
And the eyes are just staring forward.
Jal, the new Angaran member, has his mission show what happens when you deal with hard topics like racism and what it can do to families.
Racism.
Yeah, that's a never treaded topic.
Yeah, in
pop culture, that's not something we ever discuss. So I can see why, like, it's a big deal to talk about it.
In a setting where
in a fantasy sci-fi game where different races interact with each other.
Yeah, where
different cultures.
Where we have to focus on survival, we have racism pop up. It's like, wow, what a great conflict.
Oh, the elves don't like the dwarves, and vice versa.
We're dying of thirst.
Never seen this before.
This guy's purple over here. We don't like him. It's like, who cares?
Man, people don't trust the half-orc. What a surprise.
Can we eat him? Can we eat the guy we don't? Yeah, we're kind of starving over here. We need to survive. Oh, this guy's black. I don't give a shit.
People don't like the guy from the necromancer country. I wonder why. Oh, he has a tragic backstory.
I joined because of you. I shot our brother.
And while these missions are for them, you still have choices to make in them that change the outcomes.
And reveal the resistance for the traitors they are.
I am pretty sure.
How did that bullet scrape the side of his face and not hit any of his face tentacle behind it?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Because look, on the right side of the screen, he has this big scar. He should have that thing now on this side.
He should have a giant hole in the side of his tentacle.
Yeah. By the way, I hate it. I hate this design with the fat side tentacle things. These are muscles. And what this is, the whole spin is that these Angora cat pun people, if you imagine this not as naked skin, but as fur, then they look then they would look more natural. Because this here should not be skin. This should just be fluffy fur. And then it would make sense that he looks like this. But instead, they just took the outer shape. If you have these cat people with full fur, and just turned the outer layer of that into flesh, and that just looks wrong and disgusting. And this species would not have developed like this. I don't believe that for a second.
I do recall even the Mass Effect 1 aliens, they all have...
even drape clothes around this.
They have the, I don't know what you call the legs, but they're like inverted. Like they have like a three joints or 2 joints. Like there's a knee and then there's another knee, and all the aliens seem to have that. It's kind of a weird design choice. But the rest of the body is obviously different. But you look at the legs and it's like, why are they all doing that? That wouldn't even work mechanically. So just a weird observation I made. It's not important, but so Jal didn't have any barriers. You turned them off.
And with that, what your companion takes from it as their character development. Like a typical Mass Effect game, you can even get into relationships with, oh god, no!
Okay, this guy doesn't even know what character development is, and now he's doing nudity. I don't care. Just keep going.
No, he's just making a joke.
Examples would be the leadership of the Andromeda Initiative, the exiles who caused a mutiny in the Initiative, and the 2 alien races that hail from Andromeda.
The 2 alien race. First of all, it's only 1. Second of all, it's a galaxy. It's not a planet. This is not about exploring a planet. It's not even about exploring a somewhat uncharted cluster. It is about exploring a galaxy, and we meet 1 alien race. 1. Just the 1. And they're not even creative. They're
established.
Bipedal, bilaterally symmetrical. Like
cat people. They're cats.
Well, it doesn't look like they're wearing spacesuits on the left-hand side. There's like some cloth covering a skin suit of some kind. I don't know.
I don't even know what that is supposed to be. It's the ugliest piece of clothing I have ever seen.
It's not even a jacket. It's just some fabric.
It's just flapping around. This is what fashion designers make for anorexic models on the catwalk.
It's like a mantle of some kind.
These are not proper clothes.
Like a sombrero without the reasoning of why you'd have a sombrero.
What is the point of it being open in the front?
Not a sombrero, sir. What's that?
Why are you
Mexican
wearing
thing?
this? Does it have ceremonial reasons? No, it's just an ugly piece of clothing to look. Oh, this is a different style of clothes. Look at me. Like, this is bullshit.
Okay.
Making an alien race does not work by just making it look weird and different and nonsensical. If you make true sci-fi, the way you design things, everything has a purpose. This shit is just pretentious crap.
Your character, insert name here, Ryder, has a backstory just like Shepard did in the original games. It's still open for you to add in your own backstory for role-playing purposes, as a lot of it is left ambiguous. However, your character does have pre-existing relationships with their family from the Milky Way galaxy that came over with them.
What if I want to role-play a Ryder with different relationships with his family?
Well,
no.
You could always make a giant clown.
Family.
You could make a giant clown character, and you could say he came from a circus, and he looks nothing like his dad. I actually know that dad always defaults to whatever combination you make. So,
My dad looked like a freak because when I was creating my riders, my player rider, I put all the sliders in one direction, and then my female twin rider, I put all these sliders in the other direction. So my character has this like pencil thin face, and he's like pasty white, and has shaggy brown hair. And my female rider has this really wide fat face, and she's like as dark black as can be, and her hair is like bright red, and it looks like tennis ball fuzz.
That's probably the best part of the game, is the character creation is so bad, and it takes the default between the two and makes your dad the amalgam. Oh.
Just as Shepard knew people from their past in the originals, so too does Ryder. With the player playing as the Pathfinder and being the main character, you have quite a bit of say in what happens in this cluster.
Such
Leaders can
as?
change based on...
Wow, the player is the main character of the game.
You have a lot of say. So because wait.
Oh, well, see, because of you, some planets will have science bases, and some planets will have military bases.
Oh, you mean that one planet you're talking about? That one choice you make in the game with no consequence? Oh. What a great statement. The player character can influence things. Oh, wow.
your decisions while you try to figure out the various mysteries throughout the system.
Such as?
You are the only Pathfinder from the start of the game that made it to the location. The other arcs are missing, and with that, they're Pathfinders too. While the ones that made it are still trying to get a foothold on the Nexus, Andromeda's version of the Citadel from the original trilogy, you are a small group going out to help make planets livable and find the other arcs in question. All this while a new antagonist, the Ket, is out against everyone in the system. This new antagonist isn't the only alien presence in Andromeda.
What you're not actually doing is pathfinding. You're picking up the pieces. You're following an already trodden path.
Yeah. If he was never, like, this is the idea of the dad being the Pathfinder. He's gone, and somehow you get the protocols of the Pathfinder, which is just means you have the Sam thing in your head. If you were just a guy, if you were just the son or the daughter, that would have been totally fine because it would make no difference. There's no special protocol, there's no special hardware. It's just Sam. And apparently anyone could have used Sam or connected to Sam or whatever.
There's a good group that you meet called the Angara. Meeting them and building a relationship between them and all of the initiative is part of the Pathfinder's job. They have their own problems too that you help with and stabilize this newfound relationship. The story itself starts off strong with us going to one of the...
Does it?
By strong, he means it rams into the space tree.
Ooh, action stuff. Ooh.
Then the shuttle crash lands.
Wow.
Very strong.
Failed golden world.
He's baffled by
south.
But
after everything is said and done with the intro section, you understand the state of things in Andromeda, and it's your mission to start turning that around.
What?
Quests open up to you more and more as you progress the main story overall. If you get too far in the main story, some quests can even fail from that, as they're time sensitive. The system and how they show up and fail helps to make it into a more living and breathing world. With all of the story systems in place, it still very much has that Mass Effect feel to it. It's still an interesting story with its fair share of twists and consequences from your choices, not to mention the relationship with your crew.
Are you sure there, pal? Are we really sure about this?
Twists and consequences.
He's not going to go into detail. He's not going to do... Look,
no, he's really not.
Oh my god,
none of this, again, this is still not a defense. This is a review.
Not even. It's just a description.
I want him to compare the plot points of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 to the twists and consequences of Andromeda and see how they're the same.
Yeah. Someone said in chat he'll defend the game in the last 2 minutes. He's got 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Yeah, he's not. He is a complete failure at making this video. He doesn't understand what a defense is.
Yeah, so all you had to do is list the problems and go, I'm going to defend that one. I'm going to defend that one. That one is indefensible. Sorry, can't. You're right. And he keeps going down the list, and you defend it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard.
A defense requires you to address the criticism.
It's like saying...
Well, it is very hard.
Well, it's like saying there's a hole in the wall. It's like, yeah, I admit there's a hole, but that's a feature or something like that. Like you explain why that's good.
Explain what holes are.
Well, yeah, you'd have to. But, I mean, in this case, there's bugs. Yes, the bugs were fixed. We get it. Like he should have addressed that. Like, yeah, the problems, all these bugs, they were fixed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. The technical problems are solved. How about the gameplay problems? How about the storytelling problems? How about the dialogue? How about all these things that make Mass Effect worthwhile? He just says they have them. It's like, and?
How about the execution?
Does it look good? No. Does it sound good? No. Does it play well? Kinda.
Does it make sense?
Oh, God.
Are the characters likable? Are they bearable?
How silly, Whisp.
Yeah, well, that's the crux of it. And that's what he needs to address.
He keeps saying exploring the galaxy. It's like, no. It's one little area of a galaxy, not a solar system.
With everything he said, I'm telling you, if you have a 3DS, go online, go to Amazon, and order Ever Oasis.
Yeah, if you will get everything. A copy of it.
You will. Well, it's also 5 years old. You will get everything he talked about in this game, in his video, but better. And it's a game for 6-year-olds.
Okay.
All things considered, Mass Effect Andromeda is still a good game with plenty that adds to its universe. From the gameplay, setting, and story,
you haven't actually argued any of this.
As what it was supposed to be, the first game in a new series. While we might not be seeing where it could have gone in the future anymore, to discredit what it was is a disservice to the franchise.
What was it?
While I understand
now you're lying by omission.
What was it?
To discredit what it was, you mean crap?
Yeah, he's saying to discredit. It's like you described it as a thing that has stuff. I'm like, so what is that?
Yeah. You're not addressing the criticism. If you say it's discredited, say what has been the criticism. What if you say it's been discredited? Then you imply that it's been falsely criticized. And what are those false criticisms then?
Yeah, because then
address it, defend it, actually defend it. You're just making the claim. This is I think the first time he's been absolutely clear about this game has been falsely accused of being bad. And he's not going to explain any of the why and how that is to be defended because he has 33 seconds left.
I have read articles of people defending Andromeda, and they're hilarious. They're absolutely written by crazy people or people who don't know reality or don't understand quality. And when you read them, you're like, this is completely subjective. They're living up to the hype of whatever they heard. They maybe played 10, 20 minutes or whatever. And it's like, dude, this is not even worth news. This is not even worth talking about. And that's the joke. That if he were to start defending this, look at the amazing car mechanics. You're like, the car mechanics of the Nomad. Okay. How is that good? It's fast. It handles the terrain. It has a gear shift. You're like,
it is irrelevant to a Mass Effect game being good or bad.
It's just like, I don't see how that's defensible. You're describing mechanics with no criteria, with no basis.
It has nothing to do with the criticism of Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, you're just telling us what's in the game.
Metal Gear Solid has a first-person camera mode where you could shoot your gun in certain cases. It's like, is that good? Sometimes it's not. First game didn't have it. You had a camera, but you couldn't aim. They did that in the second game.
You could also instead of this, you can play Saints Row 3. You get everything he talks about.
You can just describe any game that has quests and plot points and voice acting and dialogue choices. Like, yeah, most AAA games do these.
If they ever continue this series, we should find out that the Andromeda project, the original one, really was just like secretly dumping off all the useless people. like kind of we'll send these losers who we don't care about ahead of us to see what all of the hazards are, and then we'll send the people who actually matter.
Yeah. The expendable people.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That
would be an acceptable twist.
That sounds like a Cerberus project.
Oh yeah, and oh no, it's
well,
cleaning the genetic pool of these races in a productive fashion by using the crab people as pawns, as cannon fodder.
That
makes sense. Yeah.
Didn't the Elusive Man help bankroll the Andromeda project?
That's one of the theories in the logs you discover in the game. I don't think they name him specifically.
Well, while you have to fight the Reapers, why would you waste the good people on this crap?
Well, if people do survive, they're considered stronger and they might be worthy of breeding. I have no idea what the plan would have been, but it's just...
if there's like a few worthwhile people on this project, they'll survive surely.
Yeah, or they're still in cryo, just waiting to wake up.
There won't be any more games in the future for this storyline. If you were curious at all, or even have some free time to kill, I could still recommend playing through this game if you want some fun.
You don't understand what fun is. You don't understand what writing is. You don't understand how people work.
If you have free time, if you have time to kill, there's some other games I could recommend instead of Mass Effect Andromeda, like Mass Effect or Mass Effect 2, even though I've really soured on Mass Effect 2. Or, I don't know, I don't even just play anything. There's so many good games out there. Don't waste 50 hours of your life on this garbage.
And money.
You're going to have fun. It's like, thanks. I could have fun playing Snakes and Ladders. I don't see how that's any different.
Go get like a 10-year-old Madden game. You'll get more enjoyment out of it for less money.
Oh, for sure.
The great characters themselves with their believable story arcs.
What characters?
Believable story arcs?
Now you're just ignoring the criticism. He's gaslighting now.
I have a problem with any idea where you come from a galaxy which is hundreds of years away. Like, what problems could you have? Everything's gone. It's all gone.
You knew that when you joined this mission. If you fret over that now, the screening process for that failed because you knew that before.
Yeah,
fucking idiot.
Yeah,
this is where we see the crap writing in the first place, and he is in the last 30 seconds. He is just gaslighting us now. He's been priming us, trying to with listing all of these things that are in the game that have nothing to do with the criticism of the game. And now he's just telling us, oh, the writing is great, the characters are great, the characters are believable, which is wrong. It's objectively, not just subjectively, it's objectively wrong.
Well,
this is why the game bombed. This is why it failed.
What's the great conflict of Korra? She wants to be sorry or something? PB has a rival. Vetra has a sister. Liam has a couch. Drac at least has Drac at least has like a clan or something. He has to like because they're.
I don't even remember their.
Yeah, I don't.
quests.
Yeah, it's so forgettable. It's like what? How are they great compared to what?
I remember a character who was trans who announced that she was trans.
Oh God, I hope nobody would bring this shit up. That was a perfect display of these writers not knowing the least bit of.
Yeah, compare this.
Neither how that specific problem works, nor how humans themselves work. In the first
you want to talk about forced diversity? That right there, where you have someone who is going on this project that nobody knows, like nobody knows this character, and it's like the first conversation you have. By the way,
you have the technology. We're so far in the future. We have genophages to eliminate entire races. What this world probably has the technology to do complete proper sex changes, just like Star Trek. So the whole transsexuality issue could be solved from that angle. So if you actually have that problem, go through with the gene therapy for it and all whatever else you might need. Go on this thing, this mission to go to another galaxy to start a completely new life where nobody knows who you were, what your problems were. Everybody just sees you as this new you, the you that was always inside you, that's finally out. Yay, great. And the first thing you say is reveal to people that you're trans.
Yeah.
Are you fucking retarded?
If you really wanted that, I would have rolled my eyes at this too, but if you really wanted it, then you needed a second character who it turned out did know this person pre-transition.
Well, let's look at the worst character from
that. There's another point to this, and that is that character I remember seemed pretty low energy, if not depressed. By what we know about this condition, is that if you start the HRT, after a month, the dysphoria goes down, and the lifelong depression that is caused by the dysphoria falls off you like scales. So just by the lack by the presence of seemingly depressed behavior, as well as revealing to random strangers to be trans, is an indication. It's a strong indication that that character isn't actually trans and made a huge mistake. The other part is, I remember when my ex-roommate played this part, and he's the type of guy who goes through every dialogue option. And I already knew about this character from before. And I didn't say anything. And this was the one time where he skipped that dialogue option because he probably knew, or he also knew about that character probably already. And he probably knew I would go into an impassioned Wisp rant.
Listen, Wisp, don't you feel represented?
No.
It's for you, Wisp.
No. The one thing that SJWs do is that they misrepresent everyone they talk about and claim to represent. They are the worst thing in existence. If you have allies like them, you do not need enemies anymore.
Well, let's actually compare the worst character, arguably, from the original trilogy to, I don't know, the best. Like Drac, I guess, is the best character in Andromeda. I always go back to Alenko and Jacob. And let's say, I think most people hate Jacob the most. He's your stereotypical black male. He does all the bad black male stuff. He has a harem daddy brain-eating colony story with his dad. Like, it's just boring, stupid crap that's like, this is weird. It has nothing to do with his character. It's just a thing he's checking out with his version of a daddy issue, right? All the characters on Mass Effect 2 have daddy issues. Drac is a guy who wants to find a transport with all the Krogan seeds so the babies can eat the nutrients from wherever to avoid health complications. I don't even remember what exactly the history was. I think there's a choice you make where you could save his clan soldiers, or you save the the Solarian Pathfinder team or whatever it was. That's it. You have a choice, and you have a loyalty mission about finding some seeds for the Krogan babies. You could try. I don't know how you would make that comparison from the best to the worst, but I think people would rather play Mass Effect 2, where they get 12 different characters, I think, or 10 different characters, with other stories which are interesting and worthwhile to pursue, outside of Jacob's kind of boring, silly, creepy, weird dad issue on the colony thing. And then later him becoming a stereotypical black male of leaving Miss Commander Shepard if you ever did romance him in the second game. In the third game. That's at least conflict with the main character, which is something, I guess, for an optional choice. What does Cora have? I don't know. What Vetra have? She feels conflicted about her sister and trying to help her. What does Peepee have? A rival? She has to go find some archaeological thing that just been discovered. Like it's very simple to do these plot out the conflicts and what they want and how that stands up. But once the basis of the plot, the overarching plot, is broken or is illogical, same with Mass Effect 2. You could make that comparison very easily because Mass Effect 2 is a broken plot as well. Where do these characters fit in? And they don't. They both don't really fit in. They just are presented better in Mass Effect 2. They make more sense as broken as the overarching is. So you can do this. You can actually compare Cora to Lawson. You can compare Vetra to, I guess, Lawson as well, because she has a sister. Like, you can keep doing this with all the characters. And that's what this guy should have done. And it's just sad. These are great characters. It's like, how do you know that? Validate your opinion.
No, he doesn't. He is deliberately omitting the criticism so that he doesn't have to address it. That's why he just makes the claim. It's well written. It's well written. Believe me. Trust me. Play it.
Like, people don't like this game, but I think it's good.
Because this guy, at best, that's the good interpretation.
That's it. Yeah, you're right.
The bad interpretation is he's a corrupt shill who made this game because he got money for it. For some reason, 5 years later.
I don't know.
The good interpretation.
I will err on the side of stupidity, as always.
In this case, the good interpretation is believable that this guy doesn't know what quality is. He doesn't know what good characters are, what good writing is. Because he doesn't know anything, he's immature, he lacks basically everything in his head. He can make a video, great.
Yeah, this is pure...
But there's no there's no content.
The grammar skills, the articulation, I'm just going to use Hanlon's razor and say, that's the department I put this guy into.
Yeah, he made the video essay equivalent of a stick figure.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like I said yesterday, it's this whole thing is air. Yeah. It's canned air.
Okay.
You can actually buy that in China. You can buy New Zealand air in a can.
I mean, you can buy canned air in your local electronics store for cleaning out your computer, I suppose. Not
that pressured air, but just air, fresh air, like Perry air in Spaceballs. It's an actual product in New Zealand, in China. You can get canned air from New Zealand.
You have to be able to breathe from somewhere, right?
Okay, let's finish this off.
All right, let's give him the last 31 seconds.
Coupled with having choices and consequences that make everyone's playthrough unique, still make this a good spin-off to play and true to the series' roots.
No.
Not really.
If you treat it like the spin-off it is, it'll help tide you over until the next Mass Effect game comes out.
No.
It's not
Max Effect?
Oh, wait, no.
It'll tide me over until BioWare does something good.
So the shitty game is okay in the series is okay to pass your time until the next game in the series comes out that will also be shitty.
Yeah. His big defense is it's better than nothing.
His what he just said was translated, simplified, consume product until next product.
Yeah, it passes the time. Like, that's not an argument.
It's
Literally.
It's better doing nothing until the next Mass Effect comes out.
I can't believe he basically literally said that, just clad in nicer words.
Yeah, it's, guys, you could breathe, you could sleep, you could eat, you could go for a jog, or you could play Mass Effect Andromeda.
You know what else will pass the time until the next Mass Effect game comes out? Joining your local association football team.
Ooh.
Painting a picture. Reading a book. Writing a book. Going for a hike. Driving through the countryside. Adopting a dog.
Whatever passes the time. Well, you could do this. It's like, wow.
Knitting a sweater.
Learning how to box.
Learning to code and make your own game.
Or actually reading and watching good science fiction and going, oh, wait, that Mass Effect Andromeda thing is shit. Now I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Experiencing actual contemplative, like, philosophically based science fiction, which is about exploring ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Or
not
learning,
just pressing buttons.
Learning the nuances of Liam's interest in soccer. Or cleaning.
You know what's better than completing the quest where you get a couch and watch movies with your party members in Mass Effect Andromeda?
That sounds so much like a hipster plot.
You know what's better? Getting a couch and watching movies with your real life friends.
Going to a pub and make real life friends.
I will say this, actually.
To have them later on your couch and watch movies with.
I will say this, okay? In Mass Effect Andromeda, that scene where you get a couch, where you get the couch and the TV, and you watch movies with your party members, that was about the only scene that I liked in that entire game, because it was the only one where it was like the characters playing off of each other and acting like people instead of like exposition machines. It was like this like tiny human moment where you really believed that these were individuals, and then it was gone.
All right, let's just get playing. Get the end.
Yes, 5 seconds.
Not perfect, but it's got much more going on for it than the initial reception would have you believe.
Such as?
Why was
Such
there
as?
no reception? You liar!
That's it?
You fucking
No
liar.
outro?
The sum is greater than the parts. We just don't know what the parts are.
I think the ominous music at the end is telling us that this was all a ruse. It's all just evil brainwashing.
What a joke.
Why, dear Mr. What's his stupid name? MegaMadVlad. MegaMadVlad. Why
Doesn't sound
do you
very
think?
mad.
Why do you think the initial reception of this game was bad? Do you think it's just because of the weird animation bugs? No, that was just funny. That was hilarious.
Those were the most memorable parts.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason the only line anyone remembers from that game is "My face is tired."
I've been in states where I did feel like that, but it's a level of exhaustion that is hard to describe.
Yeah.
However, that's not something you put in a game on no.
Anyway, yeah, I'm stuck with this meme of John Travolta just being confused.
What a failure of a video! What a failure of a defense!
There was no defense. And actually, talking about that scene with the movie, that just reminded me, because as far as I know, the team that made Andromeda was the team that worked on Citadel, right? And it reminded me that there was only one scene in Citadel I liked, and it was for the same reason, because it was like the character, it was a comedy moment where the character was acting like himself in a comedic situation, and not, you know, and not like, hey, do you remember what happened in the first Mass Effect?
Yeah, they hired the Montreal studio, who pretty much was the multiplayer guys for Mass Effect 3, to do all of it. Yeah.
The only scene I remember enjoying in the Citadel DLC was the scene where Zaid is trying to win something from one of those crane games, because it wasn't like, hey, do you remember Mass Effect 2? It wasn't, you know, like references. It was serious, stone-faced soldier man Zaid in a comical situation that it was the equivalent of like putting Batman in a vegetable garden, where it's the juxtaposition of like very serious man in funny situation.
Yeah.
And that was the only scene that worked for me in that entire DLC, because it was not trying to make me laugh, and so it made me laugh.
It was the crane game, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just ran through all the memes. This is the one that stuck. But yeah, that was a horrible video, guys.
Oh yeah.
That was about as memorable as Mass Effect Andromeda as a game was.
Yeah, he just says, I like it. This is a thing that happens. You're like, that's not
okay,
reasonable.
you're easily entertained. Good for you.
Yeah.
There's more stuff for you to be entertained about than us.
So he can wait for the next Mass Effect game.
So that he can consume next product.
There's no other sci-fi games out there, so you have to play Andromeda when you're waiting for the next Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
There's no other sci-fi games.
Anyway, I'm going to go stand up and walk around and remind myself I have a thinking brain. I can process thoughts.
Look at things.
I'm going to get some
walk
ice
around
cream.
and look at things.
I'm going to go remind myself I'm going to kill some time doing that as well. So I'm going to be mindful of that next time
look at the plant in your living room.
Realize I am taking up seconds of my life doing this. Wow.
Despite the worthlessness of this video, I would like to ask people comment some more on the videos, under the streams, because since the last Maggie video, the views have collapsed. I think the algorithm hates us now.
Who knows? Yeah, I haven't been paying attention. I've been busy with life, so I haven't been making videos.
Just boost the videos a little with with comments.
Also, be sure to. I think tomorrow's the last day for the poll we're doing with your favorite top 10 or whatever. I think it's top 10 games that you would want other people to play because you think they are the best experience you've had in gaming, whatever that experience is. And
top 10 games ever.
Notable ones. What is a notable game that you should have played if you ever play a game?
It could be any genre. It could be any dramatic. It could be any reason. It could be drama. It could be graphics. It could be gameplay.
Can I put in Star Wars TIE Fighter?
Sure.
98 10 times.
Yeah, no, I love that
game.
Yeah.
That game is so good. I consider it, not only do I consider it the best Star Wars game of all time, I would consider it one of the best flight sims of all time.
Really? Okay.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It's memorable. I do remember playing that as well as X-Wing, Descent, other games like that at the time, Quake 3, of course. But yeah, no, that was memorable for sure. Yeah.
Also, Dark Souls. Everyone should play Dark Souls.
Okay. Well, please give us your list by tomorrow in the Discord. It's part of the, I believe it's the main chat.
It's underneath the Smudcast discussion.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's a thread.
And a small justification as to why. And not things like, all the Halo games. No. If you have a series, then the one game that stands out and why.
That'd be the best thing. But you can list like Halo 1 and 2 if you really think they're that different and good. But what we're going to do is we're going to get all these lists. We're going to do a big vote. We're going to make, I think, a top 25. There's just too many games to make a top 10. You need like at least 20, 30, 40 maybe to make a list of, because we have hundreds. And a lot of people you see, they list multiple things within the same franchise, like Pokemon or whatever. And that's fair, but we're not going to have like 50 Pokemon games. We're going to have like the one that stands out the most, and then we'll vote on all the various franchises if there are franchises. Like Metroid Prime is a different game than Metroid, for example. So you could do that. But just give us your top 10 and we'll add it to the list. We'll get a vote going, and we're adding all these lists to the website. Probably next week I'll get that going. The template's already there. I'll talk to people who have already given lists and figure out how to do the scoring properly. We want to be as objective as possible, but there are some things which people who love games or love that one game will tell you why it's the best in class for that specific element. And it's always hard to find that, because once you learn that, you say, wow, I've never heard of this game. I've never thought about that experience. I want to go play that. And that's why we have this. Not to like talk about how great Fallout is or the Mario series or whatever your favorite thing is. Find games you've never heard of that people keep ranting and raving about, like Planescape Torment or Vampire, or things that you've never actually done. And we're going to have a little few reasons, a little few stats as to why they are good.
Planescape is a game everyone should play.
Not every gamer, but the hardcore gamers who can tolerate reading and exploration. Yeah, for sure.
Rather, if you love reading and exploration.
If you love story, I think
if
stories.
You like
yeah,
story and character writing.
Yeah,
play Planescape Torment
for sure.
Because that's where the strengths of that game are: is the story and character writing more than the gameplay, which is passable.
Planescape. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, guys.
Stack wisdom.
Yeah, I know the strangest D&D rolls ever is just to stack wisdom, and you do very well in the game for some reason.
Stack wisdom. It passes my personal RPG sniff test, which is can you use multiple methods? Do you need to be combat built to beat the last boss?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, it passes my sniff test. You should be able to use alternate methods to defeat the final boss. It doesn't even have to be like the equivalent, like the Legatlania speech check at the end of New Vegas. Like at the end of the original Deus Ex, you can beat the final boss of the original Deus Ex with most stats, because you can kill them with weapons, but you can also there's like turrets, there's speech, there's can any build finish the final boss without needing to be combat spec'd?
Yeah, that was the beauty of games like Alpha Protocol, and they're all choice based, and with stats being in the way, making wisdom so relevant to how you gain experience and how you unlock memories, or endurance. It turns you into Wolverine, like you just regenerate instantly. So there's so many beautiful builds. Even
I'll say that's my RPG sniff test, not just my general gaming sniff test.
Right.
Because obviously in a shooter, I shouldn't be able to talk down the final boss. But I don't expect to be able to talk down Gwyn.
Well, they did fix that problem in the Deus Ex Human Revolution when they released it on the was it Twitch? Not Twitch. The Switch. Was it the Switch version? I can't remember.
I don't know.
They changed.
I gotta play those games. I hear they're pretty good.
They did fix them so that you can have multiple ways of fighting a boss without violence. So that's pretty good. I appreciated that. Anyway, please give us those lists, because then we'll be done on the end of tomorrow, and then we'll release a poll, and that poll will determine the top 25 list on top of the ones that we choose personally, because that's why you're allowed, because you submitted your own game. So thank you, everyone, for listening. That was painful. No headache. No headache this time. I'm used to the bullshit. It no longer hurts me. So
Great.
yeah.
Go look at things.
I'm gonna go waste some time. Yeah.
I'm gonna go, like I said, eat some ice cream.
Yeah. All right, guys. Talk to you later.
In October.
Bye-bye.
Bye.